Dr. Martinez was conducting geological field research in Arizona that night, thinking she was only studying 200-million-year-old rock formations, until she encountered a mysterious object emerging from the canyon depths. What she observed couldn't be explained by any geological phenomenon, and all her electronic equipment began signaling frantically. Welcome to Shelley's Mysterious Files. Today I'm sharing a story about an encounter that took place in the most remote corners of Arizona, one that forever changed the life of a geology professor. Dr. Sarah Martinez had gone to Copper Canyon that night solely for scientific research. What exactly happened in the depths of that night, and why did this encounter turn her 15-year scientific career upside down? Dr. Martinez, could you first introduce yourself and explain why you were in the canyon area that night?
Hello, Shelley. I'm Dr. Sarah Martinez, a professor in the Geology department at Arizona University. I've been working on rock formations, mineral structures, and geological anomalies for 15 years. That night, October 15th, 2019, I was conducting night research in the Copper Canyon area because certain mineral formations show different properties under night lighting, and I was specifically studying the phosphorescent properties of rare earth elements.
Night work is quite dangerous, isn't it? Especially in such an isolated area. Why did you choose night over day, and was anyone with you?
You're right. I normally don't do night work, but at that time I was researching the bioluminescent properties of certain minerals under an NSF research grant I had received. I had to come with special equipment to take nighttime measurements. Following security protocol, I had 2 research assistants with me, Mike Thompson and Lisa Chen. While they were setting up camp, I began taking the initial measurements.
What time did you start working that night, and what was the first strange thing that happened? When did you begin to notice abnormalities in your electronic equipment?
I started working around 9:30 p.m. Our GPS coordinates were 31.7619 degrees north, 109.2086 degrees west, about 200 meters down from the canyon edge. The first 45 minutes went normally. I was calibrating my spectrometer and collecting mineral samples. But around 10:15 p.m., suddenly my Geiger counter started clicking frantically, and the magnetic compass needle began spinning like it had gone crazy.
What did the sudden activation of the Geiger counter make you think? Had you ever experienced this kind of radiation increase before, and what was your initial reaction?
My first thought was that I might have discovered a uranium deposit, since there are known uranium reserves in Arizona. But the readings I was getting were 50 times higher than normal, abnormally high, unexplainable by any natural formation. I immediately radioed Mike and Lisa, and they said they were experiencing similar anomalies at the campsite. Electronic thermometers, barometers, even our digital watches started behaving strangely.
At that time, was there any visible abnormality in the sky or around you? Did you feel lights, sounds, or changes in the atmosphere?
Initially, I thought it was just equipment malfunction. But then I noticed that the ambient sound level had strangely decreased. You know, in the desert at night, you hear many different sounds. Insects, small animals, wind sounds. But at that moment, it was as if a sound barrier had descended. Almost no natural sounds could be heard. There was also a slight metallic taste in the air, like after an electrical discharge.
How long did this silence last, and what exactly did you see emerging from the canyon depths at that moment? Could you describe in detail the moment you first noticed that object?
The silence lasted about 10 to 15 minutes. Right then, around 10:35 p.m., while working toward the canyon wall, I noticed the ambient light level suddenly changed. When I looked up, I saw a large metallic object slowly rising from about 300 meters below, from the canyon floor. At first I thought it was a helicopter, but there was no rotor sound, and its movement pattern was nothing like a helicopter.
Could you estimate the dimensions of this object, and what shape did it have? Was it emitting light, or was it only visible in the moonlight?
Considering the distance, I estimate the object's diameter was about 30 to 40 meters. Shape-wise, it was classic disc shape but with sharper edges, almost crystalline geometric structure. It was emitting its own light. There was a bluish-white aura around it and a light orange beam spreading downward from its bottom. This light illuminated the rock surfaces and was much brighter than normal moonlight.
What did you feel the first moment you saw that object? Fear, curiosity, astonishment? And did you immediately try to communicate with your team?
My first feeling was shock. followed by great curiosity. As a scientist, I have a natural interest in things I can't explain. I immediately tried to radio mic, but the radio was completely cut off. Only static was coming through. My cell phone couldn't find a network either. In this situation, instead of panicking, I grabbed my binoculars and focused on observing the object more closely. Scientific curiosity overcame fear.
When you looked through binoculars, what details could you see on the object? Were there features like doors, windows, or writing? And how did the object's surface appear?
When I looked through binoculars, I saw truly surprising details. The object's surface was perfectly smooth, as if made from a single piece of metal. I couldn't see any welding marks, screws, doors, or windows. But most striking were the geometric patterns on its surface, like crystal structure with triangular and hexagonal shapes. These patterns glowed faintly and constantly changed color, from blue to green, green to purple.
Did these color changes follow a regular pattern, or were they random? And how was the object's movement? Was it rising fast or slow?
The color changes circulated around the object like a wave, with periods of about 3 to 4 seconds. It had a very hypnotic effect. Movement-wise, the object was rising extremely slowly and controlled, as if defying gravity. In ways that a normal aircraft could never do, it would sometimes stop, slide sideways, then continue rising again. There was no jet engine sound or rotor noise.
How long were you able to observe this object? And during this time, did you experience other extraordinary things? How was the surrounding wildlife reacting?
My total observation time lasted about 25 to 30 minutes. During this time, I noticed very interesting things. For example, nearby jackals and coyotes seemed to be fleeing the area. I could hear howling sounds in the distance. Even stranger, our campfire flames suddenly turned blue. Mike later told me that metallic objects near the rocks were also slightly phosphorescing.
The campfire turning blue is a very interesting detail. Was this something that could be explained by your geological knowledge? And could you understand what this meant at that moment?
The campfire turning blue could geologically indicate the presence of lithium or copper compounds, but our wood came from normal Arizona pine trees. This color change could only be caused by a strong electromagnetic field. At that moment, I realized that this object was creating a very powerful energy field, and this field was affecting everything around, from our equipment to natural chemical reactions.
Were there moments when the object approached you during its movement? If so, what did you feel during those moments, and how did you react?
Yes. Around the 20th minute of my observation, the object suddenly changed direction and began moving toward my location. I had been relatively calm until then, but as the object approached, my body temperature suddenly dropped, like I was standing in front of a giant air conditioning unit. At the same time, a high-frequency ringing started in my ears, and I began seeing slight vibrations at the edges of my visual field.
How severe were these physical effects, and did you feel you were in danger? At that moment, did you think about running, or did your scientific curiosity prevail?
The physical effects were quite uncomfortable. My head started aching, and I had a nauseating feeling, like motion sickness. But strangely, instead of feeling fear, I felt great vitality and energy. It was as if every cell in my body was filled with electricity. So instead of running, I focused on recording this extraordinary phenomenon as much as possible. I turned on my voice recorder and began recording my observations.
Was your voice recorder working at that time? Had the malfunctions in your electronics affected this device too? And were the sounds you recorded normal?
Very strangely, my voice recorder was working. But when I listened to what I recorded later, I was surprised. While my voice was normal, there was a constant low-frequency humming in the background, like a giant transformer running. There were also high-pitched sounds I had never heard, almost superhuman frequencies. These were sounds I didn't hear at the time, but the recorder had captured them.
Did you later have these audio recordings analyzed, and did you share them with other experts from the scientific world? What were the reactions?
Yes. I sent the audio recordings to both acoustic engineering and sound analysis experts. Surprisingly, they detected very strong signals in the recordings below 40 Hz and above 20,000 Hz. These frequencies are far outside the range that normal human ears can hear. Additionally, there were mathematical patterns in the sound waves, as if they carried encoded information. These findings really surprised me.
What exactly happened when the object reached its closest distance? Did it send any light beam or signal toward you?
The object came to about 50 meters away from me. and right then a small opening formed in its bottom section. A concentrated white light beam emerged from this opening and directly scanned the rock formation where I was located. This light scanned all the rocks, plants around me, and me too within seconds. The moment the light touched me, I felt a slight warming in my body, and very clear, lucid thoughts emerged in my mind.
What kind of experience was this mental clarity? Did you experience telepathic communication, or was it just a change in your consciousness state?
This is a very difficult experience to explain. I don't want to call it telepathic communication because I didn't hear clear words or voices. But suddenly, very complex mathematical formulas and geological schemas began appearing in my mind. It was as if someone was directly uploading information to my brain. Strangest of all, even though I had never seen any of those formulas before, I understood all of them, and they seemed logical.
Can you remember these mathematical formulas? And did you manage to put them on paper later? Did these formulas seem familiar to you?
No, this is a very frustrating situation. While everything seemed crystal clear and meaningful at that moment, after the light beam withdrew, this information became clouded. I only remember fragments, some crystal lattice structures, electromagnetic field equations, and strange mineral formulations. When I got home, I tried to draw them, but couldn't fully reconstruct them. It was as if this information was only accessible in that special state.
What did the object do after the light scanning ended? Did it immediately move away, or did it stay there for a while longer?
The light scanning lasted about 30 to 45 seconds. Afterward, the object began rising slowly and, as if making a decision, suddenly increased its speed. But this acceleration was very different from normal aircraft. Without any jet blast or sonic boom, it disappeared from my field of vision in just seconds. It moved as if atmospheric resistance didn't exist at all. The last thing I saw was it disappearing as a small blue dot in the sky.
Did the surrounding electronics return to normal after the object disappeared? Were you able to reestablish communication with your team?
Very interestingly, about 5 to 10 minutes after the object completely disappeared, all our electronic devices suddenly returned to normal. The radio turned on, and I heard Mike frantically calling me. GPS signal returned, cell phone reception was restored, and even the Geiger counter began showing normal background radiation. It was as if a giant electromagnetic interference had suddenly vanished.
When you reestablished communication with your team, had they observed similar things? Did your experiences match?
Mike and Lisa had experienced very similar things. They could see the object from the camp area and had experienced the same malfunctions in their electronic equipment. Mike said he saw some moving lights on the object, like landing lights, but much brighter. Lisa noticed that there seemed to be distortion around the object like heat waves. All of our experiences were consistent.
After this event, did you notice other abnormalities in that area? Were there changes in soil samples, radiation levels, or geological features?
The next morning, we examined the point where the object had come closest in detail. In that area, there was a slight circular pattern in the soil, about 15 meters in diameter. In soil samples from this area, we found differences from normal mineral composition. Especially the concentration of rare earth elements was 300% higher. Also, some quartz crystals had lattice patterns I had never seen before.
How were these mineral abnormalities received in academic circles? Did you try to publish your findings in a peer-reviewed journal?
This was the hardest part. I sent the normal mineral analysis results to the Journal of Geophysics, but without mentioning the UFO encounter. During the review process, peer reviewers said such high rare earth element concentration was naturally impossible and suspected contamination. We took samples again, but the results were consistent. Finally, I was able to publish the paper as unexplained geochemical anomaly, but couldn't tell the full story.
How did this experience affect your scientific worldview? As a scientist, did your thoughts about such phenomena change?
This experience totally transformed my epistemology. For 15 years, I believed that the scientific method could explain everything. Now I understand that the universe is much more complex than our current scientific understanding. This doesn't mean rejecting science. On the contrary, it means being more open-minded and humble. Maybe there are physics laws we haven't discovered yet.
Did you share this event with your close circle? What were the reactions of family, friends, or colleagues?
I was very selective about this. I first shared it with my husband Robert. Since he's a psychologist, he approached it analytically, but believed me. I also spoke with a few close colleagues, but most were skeptical. The biggest support came from the National UFO Reporting Center. They said they had a database of similar cases, and that my experience was credible.
After this experience, did you begin to be active in UFO or paranormal research? Did you conduct other studies in this field?
Yes, now I collaborate with MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, and research the correlation between geological anomalies and UFO sightings. We're finding very fascinating patterns. Especially, we see that UFO activity is significantly higher near rare earth mineral deposits. This can't be coincidence. It's too systematic.
Have you discovered other interesting correlations in these studies? What connections do you find between geological features and paranormal activity?
Our most interesting finding is that underground water systems and electromagnetic anomalies show perfect correlation with UFO hotspots, especially in limestone caves, underground rivers, and areas with high mineral content. Activity is very high. It's as if these beings might be using geological features for navigation or resource extraction. This is purely speculative, of course, but the patterns are very strong.
Why do you think these beings might be particularly interested in geological formations? From a geological perspective, what could be the explanation for this?
I have several theories. First, Earth's geological structure creates unique mineral combinations that might be rare on a galactic level. Second, geological activity creates electromagnetic fields, and maybe these beings use these fields as energy sources. Third, underground structures might belong to ancient civilizations we haven't discovered yet.
The ancient civilizations theory is very intriguing. Have you been able to find any evidence on this topic, or is this just speculation?
So far, there's no concrete evidence, but there are some anomalous findings. Especially in very deep core samples, we occasionally encounter artificial-looking structures, too geometric to be natural. Also, in some rock formations, isotope ratios can't be explained by natural processes. These definitely require further research, but finding funding is very difficult because mainstream science is skeptical of these topics.
Going back to your experience that night, if you had the chance to relive those moments now, would you do anything differently? Would you try to make more detailed documentation?
Definitely. I was in shock state then and couldn't do proper scientific documentation. If it happened now, I would bring high-resolution camera, spectral analysis equipment, and electromagnetic field detectors. I would also try to do video recording from multiple angles. Most importantly, I would try to immediately write down those mathematical formulas before they faded from memory.
Did this experience change your career path? Do you still work in traditional geology, or has your research focus changed?
My career path has changed significantly. I still teach traditional geology at the university, but my research focus is now on anomalous geological phenomena. I can't get NSF grants for these topics, but private foundations and citizen science groups provide funding. I also started an online course called Geology of the Unexplained.
What do you teach in this online course, and how is the response? Do you get pushback from the academic community?
In the course, I teach geological anomalies, unexplained mineral formations, and electromagnetic field analysis. Enrollment is very high, mostly amateur geologists, UFO researchers, and curious scientists. I get mixed reactions from the academic community. Younger colleagues are more open-minded, but there's definitely resistance from the older generation. Some say it's career suicide, but I find authenticity more important than job security.
Finally, what would you like to say to people who have never experienced this? What is your message especially to skeptical scientists?
Skepticism is a valuable scientific tool, but dogmatism is science's enemy. I was also a hardcore skeptic before, but direct experience changed me. My request to all scientists is to keep open minds and not immediately dismiss extraordinary claims. There's much in science history that was first ridiculed, then accepted. Maybe UFO phenomena is one of those things too.
Dr. Martinez, thank you for sharing this incredible experience with us. This story will definitely be eye-opening for both the scientific community and the general public.
Thank you, Shelley. I hope this story encourages other witnesses to come forward. We need more data to understand this phenomenon, and science only progresses through collaboration. These subjects should stop being taboo.
Dr. Martinez's extraordinary experience in the Arizona canyons reveals the thin line between science and the unknown. A geology professor's objective observations show how real and impactful such encounters can be. If you've also experienced something similar or have a mysterious story you'd like to share, please share it with us in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to Shelley's Mysterious Files channel, and see you in our next mysterious story.